their time, and they've been in prayer about what to share with you. So I want you to remember, we want to respect the guest that comes in, give them our full attention, and we want to make sure we keep these closed and turn these on, because what they have to share with you is something very important. And not just for you to hear today, but it'll be something every Friday. What I want you to do is to be able to go back home and share with your family what you learned in chapel every Friday. And that's something you could be praying about with your family. But our guests, they take time to pray about what to share with you, and they just volunteer their time to come. So because of that, we want to show a lot of respect to them, because we're appreciative and we're grateful for them joining us and visiting our school family. So we have a very special guest today. I'm so excited that he's here. And a lot of you, especially my runners, have heard me talking about our Fairton 5K, our community day. That's tomorrow. But the whole thing got started by our special guest that's here today. He had reached out to me a few years ago about the idea of maybe organizing a 5K race, and now we're doing our second annual one, and it would have not have started if it wasn't for our special guest today who reached out to me about the idea of doing it. Let's give a big, warm Fairton welcome to Mikey Adams.
All right, first I want to thank Ken and Fairton for having me here again. I think we're going to start off pretty easy. By a show of hands, how many of you have heard of Prune belly syndrome? How many of you know the statistics behind it? Okay, try going into a doctor for me as an example, I go in for pain. They run all these tests, and they come up, I'm sorry, there's nothing wrong with you. That's some of the struggles I have with prune belly syndrome. It's very unknown, and the general public doesn't really hear of it or understand it real well. So, the number one thing I want to point out is that it's an invisible disease. By looking at me, you can't tell I'm sick, I'm sure. But regardless of that, I keep pushing on. I've come through Fairton scholarships, luckily, but college is a whole different step. And I heard some of the people in here do have medical issues. I'm not going to say anything about that because I do too. But college will help you out. They've made certain accommodations for me. If I needed an extension, I've never had a hard time getting one. If I had to talk to a teacher about anything, they answer right away. But to get on to the topic of prune belly, the statistics on prune belly is that every 1 in 50,000 births is going to be a prune belly baby. Out of that, 50% are going to die by the age of 2. This is not known by not very well known by doctors, but there is a nonprofit that deals with this, helping families, helping get the awareness out there, and also talking doctors, called the Prune Belly Syndrome Network. Now, to reverse a little bit, when I first met the network, it was absolutely amazing, because for, I'd say, about 18, 19 years at the time, the doctors had told me I'd be the only prune belly I'd ever meet. Regardless of what the doctor said, I ended up meeting over 1,000 prune belly patients, talking to them. I have a YouTube channel where I interview them. If you want to look that up, it's Prune Belly Insiders. But prune belly is just rough to deal with. It's multiple surgeries, it's a lot of doctor's appointments. Sorry about that. But prune belly isn't all bad. It makes you stronger. It definitely much faster rate than your friends. And you lose out on things because of your condition. But I'm here to give hope. From just my standpoint, I had Prune belly syndrome. I was one of the lucky ones to survive. But I've been spending the last 2 or 3 years really trying to promote awareness of this. I started a YouTube channel. Ken and Ferreton Christian helped me set up a run. I talk to, well, right now just Ferreton, but I'm hoping to eventually talk to other schools and colleges about this. And it's rough. That's why some of the scriptures that come to mind, I apologize, I'm not I don't know the verses by heart, but to quote it is, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with all thy might, and I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, I'm going to tell you why the one scripture, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, actually helps me. Because I'm told by doctors, this is the best it's ever going to get. I've been told by doctors, don't worry about it, you should just, my parents have been told by doctors to abort me. That there's no chance of living, and that if I were to live, they weren't thinking of the child's life. But honestly, I think the recommendation has to change, and that's part of the reason I'm out here doing this. And I've met multiple prune bellies, heard their stories, and everyone seems to have similar stories, but there's no two stories that are alike. Now, prune belly has 3 different degrees to it. They have the first degree, which is just kidney problems. They have a second degree, which is kidney problems and gastrointestinal problems, so problems with your intestines, your stomach, basically anything you need to eat, you have a problem with it. And then the third stage is respiratory problems. And I know a 9-year-old boy, God bless his heart, who had 40 surgeries. 40 surgeries, and their parents are actually starting a fundraiser. I'm going to, I think it's 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, trying to raise money for his son's medical bills, but also trying to help with the network. Now, this is fairly common for a lot of prune belly patients to have a lot of surgeries. Like I said, the number one recommendation for it is indeed abortion. But looking on the bright side, there has been twins born with prune belly, both identical and fraternal. There's been cases where one has had prune belly, one hasn't, or where both of them have prune belly syndrome. I'm not going to say it's an easy life with this condition, and I'm not going to say it's an easy life with any medical condition. I'm going to say that it gives you perseverance, it really strengthens your faith in God, and it just makes you stronger. One of my favorite quotes, I apologize because I don't know who it's by, but one of my favorite quotes is, you never know how strong you can be until there is no choice but to be strong. And that is the most truth I've ever heard. I've never thought in a million years I would have joined hospice, and I'm on temporary hospice. Now, a lot of you hear that word and probably cower in fear. Hospice, isn't that for people who are dying? No. I've talked to multiple hospice nurses and doctors there's nothing left the doctor can do, or there's no options that the patient wants to actually pursue. Which is sad when it gets to that point, but it eventually does. Right now, for pain, because the doctors can't figure out what's wrong, I'm on a pump that actually goes through an IV in my arm, and I have a button I hit when I'm in pain that delivers pain medication. So it's a different life than I would have imagined. But do I think I would have changed anything? I don't think so. Because God can take something bad and turn it into something good. For example, it may not be amazing that I'm on hospice because of this machine I have on me. Hospice was able to use it on multiple other patients and actually switched companies to go with the company who provided this, and is now being used on regular patients. Prune belly is really rough. No, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but there's no stomach. It's where you're born without stomach muscles. So a lot of things that normal people do is going to be harder for someone with prune belly. So something as simple as a push-up or a sit-up, or there's also multiple comorbidities. A comorbidity is something that comes alongside a condition, some of which include mental retardation. I don't know the medical term for it, so I apologize if I'm not politically correct on that. But that's one of them. Short stature is another one. I'm only 5 foot tall. There's a lot of respiratory conditions that are involved with this condition. Luckily, I was able to avoid that. And I'm actually going to tell you about the first time I met another prune belly survivor. I was at this summer camp for kidney patients. Now, this wasn't for prune belly specifically. This was for chronic kidney disease, which I had because of the prune belly. So I was in this cabin with like maybe 15 other people and 3 counselors. So we start talking, and it's a week-long overnight summer camp. So we start talking, we become really good friends. I noticed, wait a second, I start asking him, what hospital do you go to? Oh, this one, same one I went to. Okay, what doctors do you see? Oh, I see this, and this. Same exact doctors I saw. So I decided to shoot the shot. Have you ever heard of prune belly syndrome? Yeah, I got that. Since then, I've met him on a couple occasions. We used to go to doctor's visits, meet up at doctor's visits together. But what I want to stress to people is, one, that this is an invisible disease, and 2, that you can overcome anything with willpower and with God's help. But some of the sorry, let me gather my thoughts real quick. So, going back to where I interviewed people, I've interviewed this one survivor who had this, I guess, bully in school. And he was walking in the hallway, he saw the bully, he kind of got out of the way, leaning down, holding his books. The bully punches him for no reason, right in the stomach. He gets helicoptered to the nearest hospital, and the doctor tells him, well, if that punch would have been a little bit to the left, that would have killed your kidney. I had another friend who, and I don't even know if I can tell this story without crying, to be honest, but I have a friend who lived in Canada. He was a very big gamer. So I used to play video games with him. We'd talk about life. We got really close, actually. Became one of my best friends. But the problem was his parents wasn't giving him no, I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is. I'm just going to use the word freedom for a lack of a better term. They controlled all his money, and for someone underage, that's understandable, but we're talking about someone who's 20 years old here. So all the money he was getting from the government for his disability went straight to his parents. His parents then used that money to buy big dinners for themselves. And this is stuff he's told me. And he wanted to go to college. He wanted to be in film. And he was really good at what he did. His parents, since they didn't go to college, didn't see no need for college. But they didn't give him no sense of independence, that he felt absolutely worthless in this world. And if you look at Canada, Canada ain't exactly the same as the United States, where we have freedom of religion. But because of the fact he had no freedom, or felt like he did, or felt like he was worthless, he ended up taking his own life. That was the saddest day ever, and from that minute on, I vowed, that's why I started my YouTube channel. Part of it was to raise awareness, but part of it was because I put my phone number in the description of these videos. And I tell them on screen, if anyone wants to call and talk, I'd rather be talking to you all night than going to your funeral a week from now. But I don't want to keep this all negative, because there has been amazing things that came out of this. When my home health aide came, he noticed I was a wrestling fan. So he ended up sitting there for 2 hours talking to his contacts and got me free tickets to the match. The main things I can say good about Prune is, and I've probably already said this 100 times, so I apologize if I'm saying it again, but it's like I said, it gives you sympathy that you may not have had with the condition. And I'm not talking self-pity, I'm talking you have sympathy for others. It makes you a hell of a lot of a stronger person. And if you actually, I'm trying to figure out how to word it. It makes you a stronger person and more sympathetic. So there is this convention for Prune Belly that I still haven't been to. I've been wanting to go to. But everyone I talk to says that this convention is life-changing. Now, even though I haven't been to the convention, hearing other people talk about it and seeing other Prune Bellies gives me more hope. Not only that I'm going to live, because let's face it, the mortality rate of Prune Belly is 50% death by the age of 2. So not only that I'm going to live, but that I'm going to strive, because these Prune Bellies are doing amazing things. And I think I saw one Prune Belly in Australia. I'm not going to name his name because he ended up hanging the phone up on me when I mentioned this. But he has Prune Belly syndrome. And apparently some famous actor in Australia. No one will tell me who it is. But that being pushed aside, I think I wouldn't be where I was today without God. I know I wouldn't be where I was today without God. And I know that God will just keep pushing me further. Does anyone have any questions? I have a dog. Any other questions? I'm a second stage Prune belly patient. Yes, girls do get Prune belly syndrome too. It's more rare for girls and it's more dangerous in the womb for girls, but they do get this, and I've seen some girls survive. Any other questions? Yes? No, I do not. A little too young for that. Any other questions? Well, what I'm hoping for is I do want to build my very own hospital specializing in treating rare conditions. And then part of me wants to create a fundraiser, a nonprofit to help financially with Prune belly syndrome. Any other questions? Yes? What was the question? I mean, the only thing I could think of how it would affect the mother is because the way Prune belly syndrome works is, I guess what you swim around in that womb is urine, and my bladder wasn't draining. So what they had to do was take an amniotic needle and shove it through my mother into my stomach to help drain the urine. But that's the only thing I could think of what it would cause to the mother, is they'd have to go through a bunch of amniotic needles. But there are some prune bellies who are born not knowing they had prune belly, which I still don't know how that was. But any other questions? Yep. Okay. If you took the bag off me and took this IV out of my arm, right? Would you tell I had it? That's why it's an invisible disease, because it's something, when I say invisible disease, I mean something that can't be seen. So, for example, like, Ken, am I allowed to pull my shirt up to show my scars or no? No? Okay. Alright, but for example, unless I pulled my shirt up and showed you my scars, you wouldn't know nothing's wrong with me. Any more questions? Alright. In that case, I think we're going to hand it back off to Ken. I want to thank everyone for letting me talk to you.
I want you guys to take a look at Mikey's shirt that he has on. It's a pretty cool shirt. We can stand here for these guys and then we'll come over. Can you guys see it? You want to talk about, did you make that shirt? Did you design it?
My friend designed it. Also had Prune belly syndrome. He actually wrote the song, Not the Only One, and then To Prove Them Wrong was another song that was supposed to come out that we're still working on.
You guys see his shirt? It's like Superman, right? You know how Superman like opens up? Have you ever seen Superman before? Like when Superman he has his like superhero outfit on underneath his like button-up shirt and tie. So he'll like when he has to go rescue somebody, he takes off the shirt and tie, and he has a superhero outfit on underneath. Yeah, let's show these guys right here. Can you guys see it? So these are actually songs around the red part.
Yeah. Not the Only One is a really good song that's already out. And then Prove Them Wrong is another song that me and 2 other Prune Valley patients are working on.
Wow. Share with them like how you were able to manage like dealing with the medical side, but also like keeping up with your schoolwork, and like how did you kind of do that?
Well, luckily I came at a good time, and people here understood my situation, so they would, give me extensions if I needed it, which unfortunately was a lot here, but gave me extensions when I needed it. And I'm not gonna lie, it was hard getting through high school. I think mainly because at that time I don't think I had the motivation.
How about, I'm thinking of some questions now while you're up here. How about sharing with them, like how many hospitals do you think you've actually have visited or had to go to?
Well, I went to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, Nemours, Inspira, Cooper, Jefferson, the other Inspira up in Rosen. So just off of that, probably 8 and 10. So about 7 hospitals.
Do you remember about how many surgeries you've had to go through?
That I probably couldn't tell you without looking at my records, but I would say over 20.
Wow. So Mikey is a picture of, if you were to look up a definition on overcomer, that would definitely describe Mikey in a big way, because he's had a lot of difficulty to overcome, and he's overcome it through. And I love the scripture you chose, Philippians 4. All things through Christ who strengthens me. So we can see that Mikey is sharing with you today, like he has had to endure some very difficult things in life, and he's also sharing with you how he's endured by Christ who strengthens. God has given him strength to overcome, and he will do that for all of you as well. Difficulties that you guys may be experiencing. So let's give Mikey another hand to thank him for his time. BLC, line up slowly. Great, make sure everybody.
For a long time, I seemed unique from a very early age, asking why, feeling weak, living within a cage, wondering if I am the only one.
What was I supposed to make of my limitations? How much more should I take of this situation? Can it be I am the only one?
The only one. The only one.
All throughout, I found out what love's about, leaving no doubt I'll survive, channel the drive, not deprived. Feel alive.
Do you know how it feels to be different? At times you think you are the only one who exists with the pain of not being the same. When you got brothers and sisters that don't share the same last name or share the same blood, but share the same battle. Some days are real good, some days are just a hassle. Operations to doctor visits, you are not alone. So I wrote this to let you know you don't have to be alone.
The only one.
You don't have to be
The only one.
These days, there are ways through the haze to sing His praise. We gather here with prayers held dear, wanting to erase all pain, death, and fear.
to have heard just how this came to be. We need to spread the word.
Show the world I'm not the only one. No, no. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for this community. Thank you, Lord, for the thread we share. Thank you, Lord, for this unity. Thank you, Lord, for the power of care. Thank you,
The
Lord.
Prune Belly Syndrome Network is a volunteer organization devoted to patient support and education of the medical community about this rare condition.
1 in 40,000 live births result in prune belly syndrome, and all of them have all or some of their abdominal muscles missing.
50% will not survive their second birthday.
Our goal is to change the medical profession's perception of prune belly syndrome as a hopeless condition
and to educate and promote an interest among the community to do further research into the causes of the syndrome
and more effective treatments.
www.prunebelly.org.
You can help.
Thank you, Lord, for this community. Thank you, Lord, for the thread we share. Thank you, Lord, for this unity. Thank you, Lord, for the power of care. Thank you, Lord, for showing me I'm not the only one.
If you don't know what prune belly is, please go to www.prunebelly.org